What's up, everybody? I got some exciting stuff to talk about. We've got a decent amount of information we can derive from what we have so far about the incentive token. I'm gonna do I'd call it a halfway deep dive based on what we've got. I can't give you like guarantees or anything about some specific stuff, but we can make some very good long-term, to get our brains working about how to really reason about this thing. In this video, I'm going to go over maybe the potential starting price, maybe the potential end of year price for incentive token, that we can get an idea of like, hey, what should I be paying for some tokens? I don't want to overpay, right? You want to get in at a decent price so that you can see some good appreciation in your portfolio. You don't want to way overpay just because you don't know what ratio is actually like a fair value. Stay to the end. I'm going to reveal some of those secrets, and we'll also get the inflation schedule. Well, we'll get into it. We'll get into it. So first, I'm going to give you some great details about Pulsex incentive token. All right, so here's some simple stuff just to, start the video off here. So there's going to be one incentive token per second just coming into existence. Don't even have to know how that gets there. We'll get into that in a little bit. So what we can derive from that is there's going to be 86,400 a day, because that's how many seconds there are per day, which means there's 2.6 million INC per month generated or entering the potential marketplace. And then that means 31.5, I think there's like some extra digits in there, but I just rounded it down. 31.5 million a year. Now, I also have in there, it's known as a fair launch, because if you were around in 2020 or late 2019, there was things called yield farming that people would do. What that is basically any DEX like Uniswap, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, there's other ones, QuickSwap. You can earn extra tokens on top of what you're earning through fees by being a liquidity provider on these DEXs. So normally people are just happy to provide liquidity just to earn fees on DEXs, because there's no middleman who can screw you out of your money on a DEX, and you can earn fees from people trading in and out of pairs, usually two coins that the liquidity provider is happy to have any amount of either, at least at a specific range, maybe for a specific amount of time. It's also a way that larger players in the market scale in and out of markets, is by providing liquidity. So what the INC token is something that's paid on top of those fees and given to people who provide liquidity in Pulsex on the farms tab. So right now there's 4 pools. So imagine Pulsechain just launched. There's 4 pools here. I don't think it's going to be that T-DAI pool. We'll just assume these are the pools. Now, we're also going to assume that the weight is evenly distributed. They are each getting 0.25 INC per second. So that means, I did some math here, if you were 10% of one of these pools' liquidity, well, if you were 10% of one of these, which is earning 0.25 INC a second, if you're 10% of that, then you're earning 0.025 INC per second. And, if you're not a 10% guy, then you would just move that 0 and get another 0 in there before the 2.5. You'd be earning 2,160 INC per day if you were 10% of one of these pools. If you're 1% of the liquidity in one of these 4 pools, then you'd be getting 216 INC per day. Now, the math changes, of course. If there's only 3 pools, then it's split up amongst 3. It also changes if maybe one is weighted to get 60% of the INC token, the other 2 may be split 20% of the INC token inflation. So maybe they'll add the multipliers like PancakeSwap has before launch. Maybe they won't. You see how there's a multiplier, so you can see multiplier represents the portion of cake rewards each farm receives as a proportion of the cake produced each block. They do it per block, we do it per second, but it's the same idea. For example, if a 1x farm receives 1 cake per block, a 40x farm would receive 40 cake per block. So we may see similar multipliers showing up over here in Pulsex, just so you can kind of tell, oh, this pool gets more reward, but when that obviously drives more traffic to provide liquidity for that pair so that they can get obviously more incentive token, which means there's more liquidity you have to share, like fight against other people for. It's harder to get a large percentage of that because people want more rewards. So more people go there. And so the APY might actually be lower and you might actually get less rewards providing liquidity there than if you were to go into, say, one with less multiplier, but less competition. And then you can get outsized returns in that pool. So it's kind of all this jumping around to, if you really want to farm INC, then you might want to split up amongst all of the pools with a little bit of in each, just in case one is outsizedly like ignored, because maybe it's coins nobody likes. And it's like, I don't want to buy half of my position into this coin I don't like just to pair it with this other coin. Maybe I don't like that one either, just to earn INC. So that's sometimes people do just don't provide liquidity for one, even if there's a good multiplier and it's earning INC. They just rather not hold assets they don't like. So some people are willing to take that risk to get that more INC reward and provide liquidity for pairs that maybe they don't like as much. You'll notice that two of these don't even have INC as one of the two coins in the pair, yet they're still earning INC. To earn INC token, it just has to be on this farms tab. You don't have to be in the INC pulse pool and then put those tokens into the farm necessarily to earn INC. You could also just provide LP for Pulsex and Pulse, two tokens you probably are happy to hold, and then you'll be earning INC as well. As long as you provide liquidity, if you want to add liquidity, like right now, maybe we can do it right now. We'll just do, let's do 200 million. Let's enable Pulsex here. All you're going to be doing is taking, like if you provide a liquidity position, that means you're putting it in at the price or ratio that the current market is. You can't choose to be like, all right, I'll put it in the pool, but only at this price point that's not the current price. You can't do that in V2. You can only do that in version 3 of Uniswap's concentrated liquidity version. So here, let me buy this real quick. What's this button doing? Not working. And you're going to run into little bugs like that. So just try out the testnet. Make sure you're giving it a whirl so you're not, how do I use this stuff properly come mainnet? And I just dropped another video showing people how to bridge in assets and even some troubleshooting on how to add coins to their wallet that they know that they've bridged in, and also ones that they want specifically. If you know the name of it, I show you how to get it. So check that video out. You have to have both tokens, some of both tokens if you want to provide liquidity. So let's go to liquidity. Another way to do it as well that is actually just probably more streamlined, go to farms and you can click on the one you want to farm. And then you're going to click get Pulsex Pulse LP. So then that's going to give you the liquidity provider tokens. It takes you to adding liquidity. So we're just going to put in pretty much all that pulse we just got. Let's just do all of it. See how it's equal to almost how much I paid for the other side of the liquidity pool. I paid like 200 million Pulsex to get that pulse. And now I'm taking that $200 million or Pulsex worth of pulse. And since the price hasn't changed much since I've done it, and I lost a little bit due to trading fees and stuff, I have around 200 million going in to match with the 200 million Pulsex worth of pulse to supply liquidity. And this is 0.05% of the pool. So let's supply it. Confirm it. I figured it makes sense to show how to actually farm the INC in the INC describer video. But let's go back to this while we're doing that. Oh yeah, this is known as like a fair launch. If you were around in 2020, there was lots of these different version 2 AMM dexes popping up with a coin for their dex that was farmable and added to, it encouraged people to come and provide liquidity for token pairs on the dex because they could earn this token on top for free, basically. People were happy to provide liquidity for things like stable coin pairs and stuff like that, where they weren't really risking too much price-wise, impermanent loss-wise, but still just getting tons and tons of this token, especially if you were early. Because imagine you're the first guy to join the INC pool. If you're the first guy, you can put in $1. You can put in one Pulsex, and you're earning 100% of that pool's allotted amount of INC per second. So you could be just like pew, 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 launching those INCs right into your mouth. So you can get outsized returns by doing this earlier than other people. If you're a day late, you're going to miss so much of what you could have gotten because more and more people join. That's just how it is. More and more people find out about it later, or they were just busy that day. They missed the launch. So being ready day one is kind of important if you want to make outsized returns. Getting INC, I think it's going to be the mad rush. I think a lot of people are going to try and get into these farm pools. At least that would kind of make sense to do it, especially since you can do it before the bridge opens. So like, what else are you going to be doing other than maybe some ratio trading? I think people are going to be farming in those pools. That's going to be the big rush. And so people are going to be ratio trading for INC token as well. And so that'll be crazy. I haven't gone over why it's called a fair launch. It's because there's 0 coins given to any specific like founder address. There's not even like a hidden, there's not even like, oh, they have 90% of the supply, but they're never going to sell it. It's only given out through this farming process. The only people who get it are the community who provide liquidity. They earn it. That's who gets the supply. So if there's someone selling it down, it's someone who supplied liquidity and earned it, or they bought it and then they sold it. So there's no hidden dumpamentals of, hey, this person just starts off with 50% of the supply. What's with that? No, this is a fair launched coin, at least going by definitions used back in 2020. People consider it fair whenever no one gets initial allotted supply. So we supplied our liquidity. So now it says LP tokens in your wallet, Pulsex, Pulse LP. These are my amount of tokens. And this amount of tokens, it depends on well, we won't get into that right now, but there is if the numbers aren't very big, sometimes your LP tokens will be like, you have 0.01 LP tokens after supplying liquidity. You're going to be like, oh, what the heck? Why do I have so little? It's just a way to keep track of how much liquidity is in there at different rates, because if people supply liquidity at different rates later, they may get significantly reduced number of these LP tokens. Anyway, that doesn't matter. Okay. So now that we got it, we would go to the farm pool or farm tab, and we have our liquidity tokens because we supplied liquidity, and we're going to just put them all in. So max it, approve. And I think the APR on this pair is much reduced because there's way more liquidity, like almost 10 times, I guess 5 times these ones. If you multiply this by 5, you get 10 billion, and this one's at 11 billion. And so it gets significantly less APR. Now we stake it, click max, confirm. You can also it may tell you your ROI at some point. This can give you some more details about how it all works. Ah, here's the farm multiplier. They do have it in here. Good job, devs. And they even have an explainer. What? Okay, I just found this making this video. Good. I won't read into it too much right now, but that's pretty cool. And then let's hit confirm. Put all of our LP tokens. There's almost no reason not to put your LP tokens in it if it's an INC farm pool. Like if you're going to provide liquidity and you have the LP tokens, you have to remember to put them in the farm, or you'll just have LP tokens only earning fees and not INC per second on top. So there is some portion of LPers who will literally just forget to add their LP tokens to the farm, and they will get no INC, and they'll be like really mad when they come back and check. So be sure you're not going to be one of those guys, and make sure the transaction goes through. Make sure you're seeing that you're earning the INC. And INC is kind of a new innovation in a way when combined with Pulsex itself, because what Richard did is he separated the inflationary aspect that people like whenever they're earning the tokens. He made a token, he kind of separated DEX token into 2 tokens. So Pulsex is going to be constantly being bought up and burnt, by the platform itself. That's great for Pulsex. There's also never ever going to be more Pulsex in existence than launch day. Whereas obviously INC, there's more every day, but it starts at 0 supply. So it's like, how much is the very first INC worth? What about the 10th INC? What about the 100,000th INC? So you have to take that into consideration, and I'll go over how to kind of value that towards the end of the video. All right, so we just added all this, which is cool. So now we're earning INC already. We can even refresh the page. Let's refresh here. There we go. We're already earning some of this INC, and I have 2 farms down here also going for like a day or so. And so just earning some of this. Obviously these numbers are super inflated because the T die on this testnet is not actually pegged to $1. It represents a dollar figure, but it has a fluctuating value. So that's how you would add it. And then you can also remove it. And when you remove it, it harvests it at the same time. Now, actually, I just thought of this good tip that may scare some people if they didn't know this or they haven't liquidity farmed before. You will not see your liquidity position, at least unless they've changed all the code that they copied to make Pulsex, if they changed it. But if I recall correctly, my liquidity is not found. So let's see here. It's not going to show up here, I don't think, unless I withdraw my LP tokens from the farm. So don't freak out, guys. I know some people are going to freak out. It's going to happen. They're going to be like, where's my LP? And you won't see it until, here, let's see. Let's go to Pulsex. Maybe it'll show it. Yeah, see, look. You don't have liquidity in this, but you just saw me add the liquidity. But the thing is, I don't technically own it because it's in the, or at least it's not related to my address according to this, because it's in the contract to farm instead. So if we withdraw it, let's just withdraw 50%. And you can withdraw any amount. You're not locked in for any amount of days or time. You can be in there for 10 minutes. You can be in there for 10 hours. You can be in there for 10 days. Your risk is that someone will push up the price of one of the things or push down the price of one of the things in the pool because you are at the mercy of the market in deciding the values of those things while you're a liquidity provider at the ratio that you added the liquidity in. And if that ratio changes, when you go to withdraw, you're not getting all those same coins at the ratio you put it in. You're getting it out at the ratio that it is now. So if it changes dramatically, you're going to get much less of the coin that appreciated, unless there's an insane amount of fees that's going on in that pool and you actually just happen to earn like some crazy amount of fees on top, which would mean you'd have more even if you are getting less of the one that appreciated. Anyways, that's the risk, is impermanent loss. So if you want to learn more about liquidity providing impermanent loss risk, just Google that and you can find some information about like, okay, how much can I get screwed, I guess, by impermanent loss. And I don't think you can go too wrong with Pulsex Pulse LP. That's probably the safest pool that most people will use. Even though it's lower APR, people love seeing these high APR numbers, but they come with more risk. If you're providing LP with INC and Pulse, or INC and Pulsex, then you're at the whim of the price of INC versus Pulsex and INC versus Pulse. So if you put it in at a certain ratio and then INC just goes like some, I don't know, or Pulse goes up way more against it, then the Pulse that you put in to that pair, you're going to get like almost no Pulse back when you go to withdraw your farm. If Pulse say 10x's versus INC from where you put it in, then you're going to get like 50% of the Pulse back or less. Even though you put it in at a certain price, what you get back is kind of the ratio that it is at the time you withdraw it. And that would be what's called impermanent loss. Because if you waited for the ratio to get back to the same, like, you know, sometimes ratios change and then come back. And so if it did come back, then you have no impermanent loss. Because if it's at the same ratio that you put it in, all you've done then is earned tons of INC and tons of well, in this case, INC from the fees and Pulse from the fees. So you'd have more Pulse and more INC to pull out, plus INC was being farmed the whole time. The best dream scenario is finding a pair where the ratio doesn't change much, but there's tons of volume going through it, which means more fees for you. And hopefully there's less competition in there for whatever reason, so that you're more of the liquidity and then you get more of the INC extra reward as well. People are going to chase into these INC pools INC whatever pools because they may have higher weights to entice liquidity for INC, because a lot of people think INC is just meant to be sold as yield, and it will be. It has such low supply at the start that I think people are going to possibly mismanage the value of it, and it could sell for a lot at the start, and then it's going to trend down, and then it'll find like a real kind of starting value and then trend up again, but still have sell-offs. I think that's usually how these farm tokens go. And the thing about INC is that it also can have anything built on top of it in the future. So there's a burn mechanism in it as well. So let's go for that. So if we go here, this is the block explorer for Pulsechain. So if we type in INC, we can find the incentive token, which I already had a tab over here. So you can get the contract address here for the INC token. You know, if it's not in your thing, you can copy it. Now there's this function that is interesting, is this burn function. If you go to the right contract, people can burn amounts of INC. And you're like, well, why would you do that? I thought it was silly at first, and it isn't the most important thing about INC that it has a burn ability, because you can also just technically burn any coins by just sending them to a zeroed out address that no one has access to, and people consider that burning. The benefit of this burn is that it actually will remove it from total supply, which changes market cap calculations, and it is also a way to verifiably, sometimes people can create stuff where like if you burn tokens at this address, they can detect it with their front end or back end, and on the front end you'd be able to see like, hey, if you burned 1000 INC here, you get to mint this one token, or you get to mint 10,000 of these tokens, but only if you've burned them at this address. And of course, it'd be a nicer UI created by probably the team that is running that other token. They want you to burn INC, and then if you do that, they may allow you to mint some of their token. This allows stuff to be built on top of INC that encourages burning of INC. No one in their right mind would just come here and be like, I have $1,000 of INC, I'm gonna burn it. No one's gonna do that. No one's gonna just go burn it and lose it for nothing. But there may be stuff in the future where if you have burnt INC, they can detect that, and then you might get the ability to mint other stuff. So that just allows stuff to be built later, pretty much. Yeah, so I think it's really cool that it starts at zero supply and no one gets a special amount of it. I think that's going to be really cool. People like that. Even though it might not be necessarily best for price, sometimes it's best if there is a large whale who just holds a lot of supply but doesn't sell any. It helps the market cap. So I also have the potential starting price covered up. So if you waited till the end of the video, we're getting close. But I want to talk about how much you would need to be a whale in the first year. So if we know that it's 31.5 million a year in total supply created, then we know from Staker app and their leagues, the way you are a whale is if you have 1% of the total supply. I think they go by shares, but we'll just carry it over as percent of supply. 315,000 is 1% of 31.5 million. So if you wanted to be a whale in INC, you need 315,000. Now we can also figure out, okay, what about a shark? Then K for K. What about a squid? I wrote these down over here. The easiest way to do it, guys, is you just move the decimal for a shark. Then you would be 31,500, because they're all magnitudes of 10. If you want to figure out the next layer down, you just move the decimal point. And so 31.5K is a shark, 3.15K is a dolphin, 315 is a squid, 31.5 is a turtle. If you guys get in early day one, you can get that INC pumping in real quick, especially if you're early and with a, even a decent sized bag. If you throw it in the Pulsex pulse pool at a ratio that you're happy with having either, I'd say a ratio between like 1-to-1, 1-to-2, 1-to-3 maybe, either way, isn't too bad. Then you can be earning that INC, and maybe you just become a squid, maybe a dolphin, maybe a shark, just by sitting in that pool, earning fees on top, and you're happy holding Pulse and Pulsex, and you get INC on top. You just get to become like a squid, dolphin, shark basically for free, which is pretty cool. And future utility could still come for INC, so I think people just selling it for yield right away might be short-sighted. Some people will still do that. I think some whales are definitely going to buy up any cheap ones they see, obviously make the chart look better, get people to FOMO into it. People are going to be FOMOing anyway because they want to buy it to join the INC slash whatever pairs that are farms. And that means that's buy pressure for INC, even though they're buying it to earn INC to possibly sell. Now, I wouldn't recommend people join those INC slash whatever pairs because then you are kind of the liquidity that people sell into. I think it's much safer to just earn INC while holding liquidity in a pair that you actually like, even though the APY may look worse. At least you're not in the pool that is being sold into constantly. I'm going to go over the inflation schedule. Haven't really seen anyone talk about this. This is why you guys come to this channel for super early understanding of certain things. So I didn't see any sort of mention of actually a reduced inflation schedule. You know, like how Bitcoin, it reduces its inflation. It's paid out to miners by half every 4 years. The inflation schedule for something like this, that's every second and doesn't change, it still means inflation is reduced to the system every year. So it's the same nominal amount. So like, yeah, the same 31.5 mil comes out every year, but the total supply is only getting diluted by less and less each year. I'll show you an example. If the first year there's 31.5 million, then by the second year, it inflates at 100%. And now that there's, you know, that'd be 63 million. Well, the next year, there's still only going to be another 31.5 million. So that's only a 50% increase in inflation. By the fourth year, same thing. It's going to be reduced versus, you know, the total amount. So there's less inflation technically each year to the total supply. So if you want to, so that means by year 10, there's only, so you could just multiply this. There's going to be 315 million instead of 31.5 million because it's been 10 years. So you 10x it. And that means a year that, like after the 10th year, if another 31.5 mil comes out, guess what? That's only 10% of the total supply. That's 10% inflation. And so over time, it just becomes less and less and less and less. If you want to be a whale for the next 10 years and like still have whale status, you're going to need 3.5 or 3.15 million because then that's 1% of 315 million. So I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, let's reveal some of this stuff. So potential starting price. I think it might be even lower to start. It's also going to be weird because people are going to be ratio trading before the bridge comes. But I do think this is an interesting way and helpful way to look at how to value this token. First off, you have to realize that there are like so many very wealthy people in Hex and Pulsechain and Pulsex. And so I'm sure they're happy to overpay for this stuff. So I'm starting off with these kind of like lower, I think this is pretty conservative idea of like, what would I be willing to possibly pay for some INC? Because you never know what's coming down the pipeline for INC in the future. Some people just like to hold large portions of certain supplies because maybe they are going to release a project based on it, and then they can capitalize themselves because they can just run their own coins through their own project, which they obviously create to benefit themselves. If you think about it this way, if the INC token was $1 by end of year, after a whole year of Pulsechain being launched and all that, that would mean it's only a $31.5 million market cap, which I know market cap is LOL, K for K, LOL. But a lot of people in crypto still care about market cap. They think if it's not low market cap, it can't pump. 31.5 is a very low market cap. Low cap gems is still a thing that people believe in. I'm thinking 31.5 is only like 10 times more market cap than like a low market cap gem. Low market cap gems are like under 10 million usually, under 30 million. And so since this is Richard Heart ecosystem related, I think that gives it tons of value, tons of future potential, building value. Other people build tokens based on Hex. Other people are building tokens that are based on Pulsex, based on Pulse. They're gonna make them based on INC. I think it's gonna happen. And so people are gonna wanna hoard it, even if it does inflate at a decent rate. It's all about, is there more people hearing about it than before? So is there more buying than selling, basically? I'm thinking that's a pretty low market cap, and 10 cents, 50 cents, if you can get it cheaper, great. That's why I have it in there. I think there's still much more room to grow. Could see this maybe eventually at like $1 billion market cap, especially if there's stuff built on it. But peak bull run that's kind of the number I'm thinking, is like maybe it gets to $1 billion. $1 billion market cap for INC. Yeah, I didn't do the math yet on how many X's that would be, but down in the comments below, if you do that math, how many times does 31.5 million go into $1 billion? I guess it's like 10, maybe like 30 times. Yeah, 30x or something like that. And that's if you don't get it any cheaper than $1. It may be worth multiple dollars, maybe very early, because I think a lot of people are going to FOMO, push up the price. Whales are going to push it up, leave it there, and then distribute, sell a bunch. We could see it even, at least for a short while, $5 to $10. It's possible. It's not financial advice. I'm just sharing what I've seen from tokens like this in the past. I don't want to talk about what I've personally done in the past, but I've definitely seen some coins like this pop off, at least temporarily. I don't think INC is like the best long-term hold of all the Richard Heart ecosystem coins. Richard Heart personally says it's his least favorite of all of his coins. It's a sleeper that almost no one knows about, no one talks about it, so that means there's outsized return potential because no one talks about it, that people just ignore it. Then it pumps, then people FOMO after it pumps, then they get dumped on. Like, I wouldn't recommend really buying it and going into the INC pools, like I said. But if you can get into one of the pools where you just earn INC on top of everything else, I think that is the winner strategy. I know a lot of people won't take that advice. They think that APY looks too juicy and they're like, whoa, I'm making insane amounts of this stuff. Yeah, I mean, it depends if you're a DeFi degen and you want to jump in and out of pools and you want to pay attention for like a whole week straight after launch, maybe you can jump into this INC Pulse and INC Pulsex pools to earn the extra INC yield that will probably be there. But I don't think it's a long-term, oh, I'm just going to buy INC and Pulse and then just park it there forever. You're going to probably regret that. Now with Pulse and Pulsex, liquidity pair earning INC, I don't think people are going to be upset providing liquidity there. It is still an advanced tactic to provide liquidity. I don't think it's for everyone. Like if you got your grandma in or your mom and dad and they're not really too tech savvy, don't be telling them, oh, you got to get into this pool. You got to get you got to provide liquidity, mom and dad. Like, no, they're going to mess it up or something, or not pull out at the right time. They're not as tuned in as maybe you and I are. Long term, I still think Pulsex is domination mode. We haven't even seen, let's see. Of course, Pulse is going to perform. It's a layer one, but no one's even talking about the Pulsex pools. I think people who sacrifice for Pulsex aren't going to regret it. I'll just say that. If you sell your Pulsex early, I feel bad because there's basically infinite potential for these Pulsex pools. That's just perpetual into the future money printer status. And what do we know about money printers? You don't sell your money printers, guys. So I think this is going to keep a lot of people in Pulsex. And even if we don't launch with anything as a pool, that's just more bullish news down the line that causes FOMO into Pulsex, because people who hold Pulse and they're not going to become a validator, they don't have a easy point and click earn me yield with no impermanent loss risk button like Pulsex does. They're going to be looking at all the Pulsex guys earning 100%, 1000% APY on free tokens that they have no risk of losing their Pulsex. And I think they're going to be like, yo, give me some of that, at least some of their portfolio if they don't have enough Pulsex already. And new people coming in also want to farm. So if they're seeing pools where only Pulsex can be staked to earn it, then there you go. I guess one extra thing, I probably should have said this way earlier in the video. You do not earn INC by staking Pulsex in the pools. INC is only given to the farms which are always going to be liquidity pools, which means there's impermanent loss risk. I think I got a lot of ideas out there. I hope the community dissects this and learned a lot. Be sure to check the links down in the description if you don't have a hardware wallet already. If you don't have a VPN, you should have one. Discount in the description. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, K4K Crypto. It's where I post like quick guides, updates on market views, links to videos, links to stuff earlier than most people, information you don't get anywhere else. So be sure to follow in there. There's also a Telegram. It's not for like super noobs unless you just want to go in there and get smarter and learn. T.me .com/pulse theory. So anyone can join still. We got over 3,000 members. I think that's everything. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Till next time. Peace.